So when I joined Port Authority, I basically looked at different project management systems they had before I developed the business requirement. At that time, basically you had individual project manager working on their own individual system, Excel, Microsoft project, and at the end of each month, there were like a group of 10 people who would go around and collect relevant data and produce their own manual report. It was a very cumbersome process. There was a lot of inconsistency between what actual system said and what the report said. So there was a lot of chaos and confusion. So then the whole idea was to bring all the 400 projects on a unified platform. And there were 5 different operating units. And each operating unit was like a different company. There were cultural issues. So a lot of challenges that was on play. Let's go to the next one. So here was the schema of the integrated project management system that we basically, we had a lot of legacy system. SAP was the financial accounting system. We had a PeopleSoft, which is a payroll system. Budget, doing the budget for each project. Proposal system, estimating system, and construction tracking system. So basically what we did was we captured the relevant data from each of the legacy systems and then brought it to this Primavera project management software, which is the world-renowned project management software now acquired by Oracle. And it took a lot of time because the whole idea was, initial concept was, well, let's have a system that will replace everything. That was absolutely a very idealistic view and it was not going to happen. There is no system that does everything. You really try a balance between what's feasible and what's not feasible. And it took me a lot of time to convince, and some of the IT people told me that let's do one system, do it all. And I had some struggle with it, and finally, basically, I won. So let's go. Let's go. So here are some of the lessons learned. So one of this whole misconception that I'm going to have this grandiose system, and then the system is going to wash my car and walk my dog. It will go to everything. There is no system that does that. You always have to do an intellectual intervention to make sure that you are interpreting the information coming out of the system correctly. Alright? So that's something I have to really instill, that they don't run away once you have the system. You got to also nurture it and maintain it. The other, which is a very critical lesson I learned to navigate this whole enterprise system throughout the corporation, there were 1,000 stakeholders. And when you work for a corporation, you will realize, I'm giving you a typical cross-section, you will find 20% who are pessimistic. The old-timers, they are, in the old ways, they are kind of structured, and they are not receptive to new ideas. They are people in corporations. There are 60% which are skeptical. And, certainly they are very open, but they need convincing. Right? You really work on them. 20% are optimistic like all of you are, right? You roll up your sleeve and you are willing to do anything. The mistake I made was that I approached those 20% pessimistic first. And my idea was if I can convince them, I can convince anybody. That was the wrong approach because they were really institutionalized and they were not willing to change. I almost felt like 6 to 9% trying that I was just knocking my head against the thing. Then I revised my strategy. Then what I did was I enrolled some of the young project managers, the pilot teams, and they loved it. And then basically I brought them in front, and they were the one who became promoter of the system. So sometimes the perception that you create about project manager, there this guy coming from corporate with a tie, what does he know about what's called project management? And the perception that they had for the corporate people, and I worked pretty hard, even though I came up to managing projects, but sometimes you have to put your ego aside and let the project manager next to them sell the product. So clearly that strategy worked, and what happened was that 20% pessimistic, they got the wind of how successful this project is. And they are very politically astute. They did not endorse it, but they got all shut up. And certainly we implemented the system. We got recognition back in 2003 as outstanding achievement in implementing Prima as a modeling system. Such a huge function, 1,700 users. There was some article even which was published in various newspapers. So very proud of it. And the other lesson is, do not underestimate power of one. This corporate, you can write all the periodicals, you can write all the circulars. They do not work until the project manager gives a positive endorsement to another project. So just like movie, right? The movie comes out, lots of advertisements will be done. You rely on your sister, your friend, or brother, how the movie, right? Same thing applies here. Power of one, word of mouth. Very important. Decide early on what not to implement. As I said, people have a very strong expectation. They collect this business requirement is like a guarded was wrong. And they want system to do everything. And I have said, those business requirements sit on the shelves of collecting dust. Because no one can solve it. So idea is, decide based on your own assessment and interviews, what you are not going to implement, what functionality you are going to. And I think the political strategy was, we said we are going to have a phase 2 to implement. That's how we convinced people. I knew it was not going to be possible, but that's something that we have to do to make sure that all the stakeholders are happy with our approach. Go with 80% solution. Same thing. There is no system that can satisfy 100% of your needs. So you got to kind of focus on what are the critical functionality that people are looking for. Right? Well, next one. So here's just like a front screen. You launch this, your projects, and you click on projects. Let's go to next one. Yeah. So you basically see all this division, just like enterprise project management system. It gives you aviation, port commerce, park, which is basically rail over there, tunnel bridges and terminals. So they are the operating units that shows up. Then you click on first division, let's say aviation. I want to click on aviation project. You click on that, let's go to next one. These are all the aviation projects. And I think that one of the objectives that we achieved is project managers have a very short span of attention. So what we wanted to do was to, when they open the system, when they open the dashboard, we want them to go to the individual project in a matter of 30 seconds. Because I think it's going to take longer than they're going to lose their attention. So we simulated the model, worked very hard on it. And basically they could click through the enterprise system and look at that project and develop an understanding of how the projects do. So let's click down, you click on a project, here are the different activities with the schedule and the budgets are down there. Let's go ahead. Yeah, they just shows all the performance parameters that we brought in. This is a typical cost report. Let's go ahead. Now the who's starting on the job. So actually, as I said that we got a wide recognition and there's an organization called CFAR, Center for Applied Research, which is a spin-off of the Wharton School of Management. They basically came to our premises and interviewed us and essentially wrote a huge article in a transportation study. It was one of the best practices that was already implemented to make this project system work. So they are like their observations. So let's go. Yeah, this is my thing that showed up. Let's go further. So one of the approach we took is an evolutionary approach. We did not have this concept of one fine morning, switch the button and everyone would be in the same system. We took an evolutionary approach where we had the pilots, let people feel comfortable with it. Then gradually we brought each operating unit differently. We brought aviation first, the largest division, and then we brought TVNT, the PAC, the port commerce, and took basically 4 years to implement this system. So at 1999, we acquired Primavera software to basically do our enterprise planning work back in 2001, and I think in 2004 we launched it successfully. All right. There are all the observations. That means if you interview Pradeep Mehta, let's go back. I think I may have said something. Yeah. So the observation I shared with them, we felt that danger of committee of 50 people. You know, all the large corporate they have a task force. And all they do is to talk about the philosophies and the project doesn't go anywhere. So we had basically a very small group of people who would have the wisdom and knowledge of what needs to be done. And they were in touch with the real project managers. So we didn't want to make everyone happy. We never make everyone happy. So we can't put that approach. So this is a presentation I made to Australian Performance Management Association back in 2005. Then I joined this litigation company in 2006 because this project was over, and I have some story to share with you. And I'm going to spend some 15 minutes with all of you. Alright? So let's go to case study 3. I think these are big, so this is yeah, here we go. So this was the presentation I made in Denmark, in Copenhagen, to their Danish Engineering Conference back in 2014. And at that time, I think beginning January 2014, basically we got a project in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia. And if anyone knows about Jeddah, Jeddah is the airport where all these people who come from Makkah and Medina, there are millions and millions of people that come to Jeddah first. But Jeddah does not have any public transportation. So basically what they want to capitalize on all these tourists. They come and they just go to Makkah and Medina. So they won't take the advantage. So they contracted with the e-com to basically develop an overall project management platform to manage the $12.5 billion program that they want to do undertake. So I was there as a part of the project management, which was staff for almost 9 months. So here's the background. It's the largest city in the Makkah province. Population is 3.4 million. Let's go to the next one. Just the location. Yeah, so here elements of the project. There was a metro, commuter rail, tram, ferries and marine taxis. It's amazing. Those schemes are so rich. Look at the rendering of those taxis. They all look like a James Bond driving a taxi rather than a commuter thing. You know? So, and buses. And it's amazing. We had provided an architectural rendering of the bus terminal. So all the buses would come. It was a functional building. Basically, not much to it. You provide the egress, allocate space for the commuters. So there was nothing fancy about it. And I recall giving a presentation to one of the representatives from the King family. And when he saw our initial rendering, he had some big time far South Indian language, which I didn't understand. And one of my colleagues explained to me what he meant. So he went back and I showed the rendering. Just go further. Yeah, these are all the individual project and routing. Just like right now, Mumbai Metro is doing Blue Line, Green Line, commuter rail, tramway, is near the Red Sea. Jeddah is near the Red Sea, water taxi ferryway. Here we go. Look at the rendering. This is a bus terminal. It looks like a palace. Unbelievable, but they had money. There's no issue spending the money on this. And there was also Auburn Bridge, both about the. Just to give you a status, we did that in 2014, and I think in 2015 the oil prices came down, and the funding that they were looking for, they didn't get the funding. So as much as we spend so much time in developing a project management system which everyone is using, as I understand now, the only project that went ahead was the bridge project. Only one. Other things is involved. But as they bring other contractors, they will use our system. So here the project management implementation, program, work breakdown structure. This is a very important element. Anytime you set up a project, what you do is you break the project into the discrete work elements and you manage your project at the lowest level of the discrete element. Design budget, design schedule, and that's how you basically manage the project. So program work breakdown structure is very important when you set up a project. EPS structure, the enterprise structure, how you report to the higher structure, master schedule, the master plan, budget management, document management, dashboard reporting for the casual user who are not into it but they want to see how the building is doing. Risk management, very important, and project management. So let's go. So here is the conceptual representation of a work breakdown structure. You see the JPTP program, Jedi Metropolitan Program, and you see these various contract packages, pre-PMO pre-PMO services, preliminary design, so the auditing guy, and then there are design build packages for metro, for taxi, for buses, and what have you. Then you break down each of those contract work packages into series of hierarchy of detailed breakdown, right? And you go all the way to the activity level. It takes a while to really come up with it. Takes some doing, and you really understand the contract elements before you develop this common structure. Let's go. Yeah, this is another representation of WTS. This is like a technical of one contractor. For each contractor, then you can give them a sense how we want them to break down their project into different elements. So this is like one of the examples. One of the things which we really were very, very careful about, that you do not want to dictate to the contractor the lowest level as to how they should break it down. You would allow them. They are the ones who do the work. So we can get a little higher level, how we want to see them break the project and left up to them to come up with the activity and the work back. Let's go ahead. Go ahead. This is master schedule which shows different design contractors, their work activities, and essentially how we're going to make the project complete. Master plan schedule, right? This is basically the cost credit report, earned value report that basically we implemented to show the client was getting the value what they were spending. Right? Just the manpower staffing. So it's interesting, so this was a very unique contract where it was required that all the key management person assigned had to be a US citizen. Saudi Arabian district, they are like a big fan of American leadership. So since this project required leadership, they insisted in their RSP document that whatever person you assign has to be an American citizen. Frankly, no American would go and spend time in Saudi Arabia, right? So what we ended up doing was we ended up proposing people whom we knew is not going to come and join the project. We will get the project and then we'll find a way to manage it. Alright? So as the project started, there were many key people that did not come to the project. And the project director of our client got very, very upset. I had a nice relationship with him. So it's amazing. When we created this on value report, he's saying, you are saying in the report that you mentioned on value and it's nice. But I said, we contracted for the human capital. And you did not provide us with the quality of the people that we were expecting. Your product would have been better if you had provided this people. Well, the realities are different. And what we argued was that our product that we provided to you was consistent with the industry standards. So here's the lesson for all of you: when you sign the contract, never promise then we are going to produce the best product. BEST is the eye of the beholder. It's like a beauty. If you say that I'm going to provide your best product, the client would say, well, what I did was not the best. Who's to define what the best is? So when you sign the contract, you always have to make sure that you are measuring your work product against some standard industrial frameworks. Never promise. You could, when you market it, you could say, oh, we are the best people in the world, we are the best. That's for speaking, not in the contract item. So that's our argument. Yeah, I know you are not responding with the quality people we have, but we did generate the product and we gave it to you. So that's the my experience. But yeah, I think what's the time right now? 45? Okay. I'll go to dispute resolution. Alright? So part 2. Can you open the part 2? I think it's in your email. There you go.